thanks for the invitation. Thanks for Cameron and Kathy. And I only got the notice kind of Friday, and I kind of I was thinking about whether I should choose some topic or some slides from my research deck, but you're probably going to have to go through our government press office. So that's why I'm here today. I want to just talk to you in my personal capacities, try to ask 3 questions and give you 3 examples of stories, and then maybe can help us leading to what is actually, the trend, what's the next step, what research needed. 3 things, just 3 things. Okay. And I think, of course, starting from working for the government, and I work on different systems project. So I think this is fitting to look at different skills, different modes, and of course, different domains, different part of research organizations. That's probably a good thing. And so my first 3 questions is that, I kind of already mentioned one is that, how do we make our model work for the real world, right? And second, related to this one, how can we evaluate a technology? Maybe for everyone here as a researchers, how do we do self-evaluation? Because you can't just present a model, a data, without kind of looking at, is this method better than others? And what problem we try to solve. Then the thirdly is that, we have seen the changes in AI from old to present and to the future, and things going to change. Of course, we're hoping here is that to have an open, collaborative, innovations platform so we can all talk together. I think only about 2 years ago, I worked for the OSTR's Highly Automated System Center of Excellence, which we call the HASC-COE. As you know, one of the products there, a platform is called Voices, virtual, open, integrated, innovative, collaborative environment for safety. Then 2 years later, I realized that when we evaluate a system, we can't be just looking at safety alone, okay? And because, as one professional joke is that if we want safety, probably everybody should drive a tank to work. And so how we integrate it with other factors such as efficiency, capacities, reliability, and other, those old, we call the RAIMs, right? Risk, reliability, availability, maintainability, and safety. So how we use those, when we develop new methods, new models, we need to look at how we relate it to the old method and performance-based rules, and also with the real-world data. So that's my 3 questions. And for the now, I want to tell you 3 stories. Okay, hope to inspire you to do more. One of them is, as I said, I right now reside in Boston. I don't know anybody came to Logan Airport. You actually can take the transit for free if you get on, we call it Silver Line, and which is rapid bus transit. And this is a very tough environment to operate for the Silver Line. It's a long bus, and it has to go sometime in the tunnel, and sometimes get off. You have two modes, both diesel and electric overhead wires. And I thought that is a great place to implement automated driving because it's a constrained kind of guideway. And we tried. And what happened is that not all federal funding is allowed to work on systems development which impact labor unions, basically affecting jobs. Okay, and so we then invested into simulation models and try to analyze where the problems with the system, because in a confined area, very hard for even the most experienced bus driver. They get a higher pay to drive the Silver Line, but they often get hit the wall and getting a lot of stressful work. And so for this story, what I'm trying to say is that, you may have best intention, but you have to work with the environment, and the system is going to work. Okay. The other story I want to tell you is that I was the contracted officer, technical representative, which another word is like technical specification, working on a project team to manage the contractors. In this case, is so-called Future Airborne Collisions Avoidance Systems, ACAS-X for the future. And well, of course, basically, this is implementing the airborne technology from Air Force to civilian world, especially looking at large drone operations for overnight freight operations. And of course, we're looking at the big architecture is that what is this to be integrated with next gen? Do we still need primary ground radars to track and then where we allow the drones to detect itself and communicate with other drones? And so with that environment, where we're looking at eVTOLs and look at flying cars, we allow the kind of self-guided or positioning and navigation and timing systems. And turns out the next gen, we'll say next gen ATC is a system who have infrastructure to help us manage the national airspace. And that's why we do not trust other methods of detection for avoidance. So you probably heard ADS-B, the B stands for broadcasting. So whatever you report your location, it goes to the ground. Then we provide the uplifting kind of messages to let all others know you only trust one source to make that system work. And so the second story is that when we look into the future, we need to learn from the past and how we're going to develop your part into a larger systems and to be able adaptable and transformative, and so we can look into the future. Okay, so the third story is that earlier when I was working for the railroad industry, and you probably heard 2008, the US Congress mandated positive train control system implementation. PTC is a great concept, which is basically using the GPS locations and how to prevent train collisions, right? Help manage efficient, especially in those areas we call it dark territories. There's no signaling, no block signaling. And so there's kind of two questions. First question was that how safe is the technology is acceptable, a level of risk. And so at the beginning, the industry is not going to implement that because the reasons for accuracy of GPS, whether you're on the sidings or you're on the main line. And so additional wayside interface unit has to be added. So at that time, I worked for Federal Railroad Administration, and we come up this idea, which is a good idea. That's why you never heard about it. The industry finally accepted in a way. Its first thing is that we need those stakeholders from four parties, whether it's the union, whether it's suppliers, whether it's business side, AAR. We get together, look at those old accidents, and then see what the technology can prevent those accidents. We call it PDC, preventable accidents. Then use that as a way to see what is the potential for this technology. So it's good for benefit cost analysis. And then, for example, one can say with current technology, whether it's centralized train control or a manual or a voice command, and here is your performance measures, like 15 cents per mile, you will have accidents. Okay, and then we look at by the level of functionality for the PTC. Then we look at it, what is the probabilities or probabilistic risk assessments, and look at how the technology will perform in such a setting. So that's why we have developed corridor risk assessments models and base case risk assessment model using the old way for tree, events trees, and to predict what is the accidents and what the technology can prevent. That's why we asked the railroad, when you implement the PDC, we hold you up at a level, not the average driver in our surface transportation or roads, highway systems, but in this case, and if you're in the signal northeast corridors, and we want you to bring the risk down to 5 cents per mile, train mile. So that is one of the example. And when we have an idea, a good technology, we need to find a way to measure it, work with the current regulatory regime, and to make it work in the future. So for example, now back to what are we doing right now with ADS, ADAS, and the HAS-COE, again, ODST, we proposed, in addition to the voices, you can Google it, and we also proposed the VITAL, which is virtual integrated and testing and analysis lab. And in the railroad world, VITAL means safety critical systems. Okay, and in this case, the VITAL is looking at you're not just learning and then without a testing itself at the same time, but also looking at how the key here is the analysis. And so whether it's fully use your computing time in your algorithms, looking at the long tails. So when you see an accident, you don't try to pull over and run over the passengers and on the side, because you have to look at it, whether it's a hypothetical or scenario based, and to help, to use your computing time wisely, means wisely, efficiently, and as you can, because in the driving systems, you need to know where you should look, where the risk is going to be. If there a pile of parked cars and you see the tail light on, as human drivers, we probably are going to slow down because we know somebody could open the doors or a pedestrian will probably go in between. So those are kind of things. So we don't have to answer that final crash and safety issues. But if we step back, look at the risk, and then helping you, because the real differences now is the systems, whether it is efficient and public acceptable. And so that's why the risk is informed model is probably we need to look into. Not just looking at safety, but looking at other issues, capacity and the things. So back to this is probably the end. I will leave you some time for question. So now come back to the question I asked before, right? If you look at the Japanese high-speed rail driver, or we call engineer, right? And the railroad has implemented train control system over the years, automated, and because they're on a fixed line. But if you read more in the details, you find out that the AI has not been able to compete in really perfecting the energy saving. You may be able to match the braking curve, but the human driver probably is the same in the truck world. They're probably more energy efficient, cost effective than any AI systems. So that's why I'm telling you to study. And is the automated driving system cost more energy? And is the EV cost more energy than others because of the density, because you have the additional weight? Even you just drive 30 miles per day, but you try to get a big battery of like 200 miles. Is this necessary? And maybe you should modularize the battery so you don't cause the wear and tear on my infrastructure systems. So the other question, of course, with you is that do we need a digital infrastructure? If the digital infrastructure is ready to support the kind of idea you proposed today. Sorry, I missed the earlier presenters, so I only can comment on what I heard the last ones. And I do want everyone to think about, this real world problems. And so that's one of the things I want to say is that maybe if you take out the computer vision systems and LiDAR system, make it omni cameras for the street intersections. Instead of saving one customer, you probably can serve more than 100 at one street intersections. So that's why I'm advocate the smart intersection technology, $1 million challenge. If you can develop a system which is efficient and not only knows how to detect pedestrians, bicycles, and to provide a good traffic signaling, and for the point to the network for the city. As you know, a lot of cities now in North America actually implementing some kind of smart intersection technologies. But because the technology was faulty or not really adaptive for the environment, for example, in the winter times. So that's why you can see the street pole is so big, such as expensive structures just to support some of the infrared detections. But if you have a system you can take out from the car and put it into the intersections and serving that, maybe giving us the time to develop the digital infrastructure and then be able to support a larger scale of implementation for the scale automated vehicles at a scale. So to wrap up is that I basically try to mention there are different modes, different needs. They're probably going to emergence, convergence, different technologies, whether it's on the in the on the ground or in the low altitude or into the aviation systems. The last thing, if I have time, I want to say is that if you look at the evaluations, as I said, we should not measure just one factors. We should measure probably 8 to 10 different factors, right? And so please look at it, the George Tech and some of the sail drones, some of the maritime applications when they look at multi-factor campus and knowing different factors maybe stretched differently. This is actually the same if you look at the China's new regulations and testing standard for the smart and electronic vehicles, and it's kind of like our consumer report ratings for vehicles, and I will hope to see that into robo taxi and TNCs and to micro transit and to the larger transit systems and or even cross flying cars in the future. So want to encourage you guys to look in those issues. If you have any answers, please get in touch with Cassie or me, and we'd love to listen to you and to hear from you. And now I stop and see if you have any questions for me. Thank you. I can't hear you. Sorry.
Yeah. Do you want to say it, or do you want to just say it? And I'll re-say it.
Okay. I'm curious for Alan's perspective on how industry and government can work better together. I liked how he noted the labor union example. So it's evident that industry and government operate under different rules when working on autonomous vehicles. So how can we move forward together?
So the question is about your perspectives on how industry and government can work better together, specifically regarding autonomous vehicles.
Yeah. And I'm glad you asked the question. That's what we're thinking about. And I think without a summary, and I already hinted that the government does promote the collaborative projects like without you have to mention starting from COLA and CAMA and OpenSea, CDA, and a lot from UCLA and other projects all funded by USDOT. And I also hinted the stories when I mentioned the success implementation of PTC. We need make those folks we call the stakeholders to work together and make them feel they are part of the team. So for example, they help us identify what accidents, what we can learn, can prevent, are needed to be worked on. And so basically, they're the ones who say what PTC can prevent the accidents. But whether at that time, the rail industry has other incentives in looking at the PTC. So, for example, they don't have to invest signal systems for the dark territory, and then they're hoping to run a one-man's crew, so they don't have to have two people in a cab for long distance. And but although to to work with the union, Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers. And we say your job is secure when there's more demand, more trains running all over the places. But we carve out some of the, we call the waivers or exceptions. For example, 20 miles near a yard and or city, you may see, then you could run for we call remote control locomotives, or actually those workers are not train crews. They're called yard crews. They belong to different union. And so that's why I'm kind of encouraged to see some attempts to run robo taxis because they are in the private business settings. And but of course, you work with the state or city, and you probably need some policy or regulations, and so people won't put a con on your hood, but you probably need indemnifications, insurances, and some cities like Shenzhen and Shanghai, they provide those incentives or controls or policies to encourage new technologies. And that was help. But again, you don't look for that from the central government or federal government. And you work with, for example, in the train systems, you probably is right in front of your face. You probably see a lot of cities, including suburbs where I live in Newton, and they don't work for the MBTA, the big transit organizations. They're basically providing the new mode through VIA, through other GoGos, other things, and those are right now. You actually come back to think about it. Are we paying the expensive train control systems, or are we paying this person's job and to serve the senior and people with disabilities and with helping hands, right? So maybe the time is not ready for everything, but that's why we need to is how to message, to put out your message. The way you communicate is actually helps. And I don't know whether this answer your questions. And I mean, I care less about what algorithms, whether it's CNN, RNNs, or TB-based, NN, or exploratory, or ENNs, or now we call about hypotheticals. Because when I talk about hypotheticals, I'm kind of nervous because you only know a certain scenarios, like some of the things. I don't want to name anybody, but of course, when car makers, they say they don't use LiDAR, right? They only use computer vision, but they do use the LiDAR to labeling the area when they miss, like overhead. They try to ignore the overhead bridges, right? Then what happened when the car did not see a tractor trailer right in front of you and try to drive through, and that is a problem, right? So we look at your methodology, we look at step back, look at your model. Do we really, is that just a detection of objects, multiple objects? Do you track them? How long you track them? How you put that objects into a connected real world, and how to make your driving decisions. And those are the key for success. I did look at what Apollo and other models, and I don't want to name, but I was just hoping, and I saw one of them recently share with Cassie, a new release, a better release of I don't want to name the vendor, but the software. And you can see that from a distance, there's a large limo, but it's not a limo. From human eyes, we know that is a bus. But only when it comes to close, you realize, oh, that is, you see the the model changed their understanding of that object. Of course, bus and school bus probably have a more kind of risk to us. And just as same as if you drive a Ferrari or a sports car, you know the characteristics, and you probably want to be sure don't get a pinch scratch or that kind of thing. So that's one of the things we're hoping is that even when you look at just individual cab train control models, I hope you're looking into the real world and learn from the humans. As I said, the Japanese railroad try to learn from the best drivers, and so they record their performance and they use the ATC to try to learn from the human. But I have not seen much of the learning in the machine learning environment from the humans. I mean, you probably see a big department of young people in the AI engineering department or production environment, and the labeling, they try to teach the the systems to learn. And but I was hoping that is the next generation of ADS will learn using machine learning itself to learn from humans. Sorry, there's a long answer. Sorry.
Do we have time for more? Is that okay? Okay. All right. Thank you, Alan.